Change the business model. Netflix. Netflix is a very good example of a company that has gradually changed their business model. So they have started as a company renting via email their DVDs and accepting payments per rent. Then they quite fast moved to renting via subscription model, still concentrated on DVD and doing it on email. As the time go by, they not only added new titles, but they also added Blu-ray and kept the model. And at some point in 2007, they started also streaming the video on demand. So this was a byproduct of the main business, which was renting the DVDs via email. But once they start doing it, it quite fast became their main business. So we can say that they've transformed into a company that was streaming online movies on all possible devices. So you would not watch it only on your TV or computer, but also on your phone as well. And the last stage that we know of till now of the transformation is they've added their own production, which created additional change of their business model and made them actually more robust business model. Now we can say that they still stream the movies online, but you can also say that they've become a producer of content as well. So they are streaming not only third-party content, but also their own content. We'll now look in details into the business model that they have started with in 1907. And in the next lectures, I will show you how it has evolved in details. So I'm going to show you what it meant, this change we have seen here, for each and every piece of the business model. So let's have a look at how the business looked like in 1907. So in terms of value proposition, so they were renting just DVDs, no VHS, but basically the model was very similar to Blockbusters. So you had late fees and it was payment per rental. They were obviously concentrated just on US households and they were selling via their web page. In terms of getting, keeping and growing, obviously they would get people through their web page and online ads. And in order to keep them, they would increase the number of DVDs and titles. In order to grow them, they would use the mailing list to convince people to rent more. In the case of key resources, what they needed to run this business in this way, obviously they needed warehouses and logistics and capital to invest in the DVDs because they were sending them email. So a lot of working capital you need to meet the demand. This obviously means that in the case of the key partners, warehouse operators and supply of DVD at the beginning, obviously wholesaler were the prime target. In the case of activities, obviously you have to be fast in processing the orders in order to be able to minimize your working capital. You have to be good in purchasing the DVDs, so a good price, but the proper titles, and obviously keep the website operating. When we would look at the revenue, the model was similar to Blockbusters. So pay-per rent model, you pay per number of the DVDs you rented. Obviously they had also late fees, and as I said, the rates were on a similar level as a Blockbuster. So they were trying to compete rather on the value proposition than on the price. And when it comes to cost, we've got cost of processing the DVDs in warehouses, so rent labor, so receiving and sending, then sending the DVD to customers, so the cost of logistics, and obviously purchasing of new DVDs when they're broken. And last but not least, but at that point not significant, was head office cost, so purchasing department, marketing, sales, and cost of website. In the next lecture, I will show you how this model has changed. So just as a reminder, they started in 1997 and they were renting DVDs, no VHS. The revenue structure was similar to Blockbuster, but they were doing everything via email. And then in 1999, they've decided to switch to monthly subscription fee. So you had a certain number of DVDs that you could have at your home. And if you wanted to get new titles, you had to send back whatever you had previously rented. And then only that would make you viable to get the new ones. So in a sense, you can say that there was something between renting and owing. This in turn caused changes in the way you do the customer acquisition. So first of all, they introduced also free trial. So you could use it for free for a certain amount of time. They stressed even more the online ads, but lack of the late fees that were a huge problem with Blockbuster caused them to be promoted by users. So you had a lot of word of mouth. Keeping and growing didn't change much. The only thing which started to appear was that they were more and more able to suggest on the basis of data they had from customer what he should watch next. The key activities, key resources, key partners, and cost structure didn't change much because the main innovation here was in the revenue. The next big change happened obviously in 2007. Then they started offering video on demand via internet. At the beginning, there were not many titles available, but it soon grew to be the main part of their business. This obviously changed a bit the way you build the relationship, especially in growing. So you were not only trying to convince them to rent new DVDs, but actually you would also try to convince them to also use the video on demand through your mailing list. And then once they were already using it through recommendation, that they should use more. This had a huge impact on key partners. So all of a sudden, the warehouse operators that were number one were down here, whereas new partners appeared. So movie, TV shows, producers, right owners that could give them license to broadcast movies on demand, but also the providers of servers and of necessary software. When it comes to key resources, warehouses and logistics was important still. Yet soon it was replaced by the infrastructure they needed to stream the information and also the algorithms and data on customer preferences. This now is probably the biggest value after the content. When it comes to key activities, also we have a change. So streaming at a proper quality became extremely important, and also new skills they had to master. So signing good deals with studios to use the rights and stream the content. When it comes to cost structure, you can see that we have two things that have arrived here and at some point became extremely costly. So streaming movies to the customers and fees to movie TV show producers, right owners for streaming the value. So this is how they switched from a DVD rental into a mix, and later on, obviously, a platform for streaming on demand via internet. As you can see, now there were not only changes on the customer side, but also huge changes on the cost and key activities, key partners, key resources side. And the last change, the big change, was complete switch to basically being a streaming video paid service. Here, as you can see, we have plenty of changes. So first of all, we have switched to all channels. So not only web page, but you can actually go there through application on your mobile phone. So the idea was to be available on possible tools that can be used to watch movies. When it comes to the value proposition, they also added their own content, exclusively available on Netflix. So this is additional value. We also have a huge changes in key activities, key partners, and key resources. So algorithm and data became the most important ones. Obviously, also the content they have produced. They also ability to produce and manage production flow when it comes to their own content. In the case of the key activities, we've got not only selection, which has been important even previously, but the fact that they have to supervise content production process. When it comes to key partners, we also have a change because they've been producing their own content. So here, what you will find is as a new important part is all the studios, executive producers, directors that have to manage the production of their own content. The cost structure has again been changed drastically. So since they produce their own content, we have to put the cost of content here as well. And on top of that, they started marketing the platform as well as their own production, which became a huge cost as well. When we look at the right side, so the relationships and customers, you will see that here they've also added partnerships in getting the customers. So they would sign up deals with mobile operators and offer for a specific amount of time the free service, and in this way to get to the customer base on which this mobile operator works. In the case of keeping, since they've been producing their own content, this is a huge way to keep customers using the platform, producing more and more of your new content, and obviously notifying them about that to make them sure that they will find the content they will need and they will stay in the platform. So in this case, all the data they've gathered on your preferences and algorithm has been heavily used to keep the customer happy and paying. As a growing method, obviously, you can upsell. They've introduced more plans, so you can try to convert the customer to use more of your product or pay a higher plan. And another important thing is that they've switched from being only US or American product and going fully global and then entering almost all countries in the world. So this is the changes they have made. So just as a repetition, they've started in 97 as a rental with a model where they were optimizing logistics costs, and they were using the same revenue streams as blockbusters. The first modification they did was in the revenue stream, so they started having a monthly subscription fee, which in turn helped them get customers, happy customers, and grow with growth of the DVD market as well. In 2007, they also added video on demand, which drastically changed the left side of their business model. So key activities, key resources, key partners, and cost structure. And then switched to fully streaming and also producing of your own content, has again drastically changed the left side. So they added new cost position, the cost of producing content and supervising the production process, but also in a sense has changed the way they get the customers. And also the value proposition was drastically altered, because you were no longer in the rental business, but rather the production and streaming or distribution of content business. And the last part of the change was that you go global. In the attachment, I'll also add some links that will show you how they've managed to grow their subscriber base to above 100 million.